Hi guys, my name is Andre aka Mark Renton, and today I would like to talk another weapon of mass creation of mine, which is the machine drum. And I really like it. I always wanted to have one since I make music, which is like around about 2002. And just a disclaimer, this video won't show you everything. Like, there are way better videos on YouTube that give you all like detailed information about specific aspects of the machine. But I just want to give you a rough overview, what this one sounds like, what is the basic principle of the machine drum, and what are the modes, for example, how does the programming work, and what's so special about the machine drum, which is the sampling and the resampling. And that's basically what I want to show you. So I remember in 2002 and the years afterwards, we were driving with high school mates of mine. We were driving from Carinthia to Vienna, and before going to the hostel, we went straight to the Klangfarbe, which is a music shop in Vienna. And back then, of course, they had other things, but also this machine drum. And I remember it was a hell of menu, and I just did not know how to use it, right? But I always wanted to have one. And like since some years, I thought now I can afford it, buy it used on the market. So get these round about 800 to 1,000 euro. And then I bought it, and of course I had to study the manual while I was on vacation. I think it's quite versatile. Of course, you guys might know that it's a digital machine drum, and I would like to compare the machine drum to other drum computers, like the Virus is for synthesizers. Like the Virus, I think, can do many things. It's really versatile. It has so many effects on board. It can do so many great sounds, and of course it has a unique character on its own. But of course, if you want to have something special like the JP8000 or some analog stuff, you need to get it right. And I think it's the same case with the machine drum. The machine drum can do many things. It's really powerful. It can really do lots of great stuff. But of course, it's not, for example, one or the specific analog, I don't know what machine drum that you might expect, which nevertheless doesn't mean that it can't do many things. It can do many things, right? And I think there's also this running gag in the community. The longer you play with the machine drum, in the end, you always end up with sounding like orchestre. Am I pronouncing them correctly? Orchestre means like this electronic duet, because it really sounds electronica style. You might hear this when I scroll here through some demo patterns. You will see this very soon. But let's get started and get the camera here over here. So I'm not sure, did I talk already about the self-made cases I've done last year during the first lockdown phase? So I did this back then with my neighbor and his friend. He helped me cut the wood and did the oiling and so on. And yeah, I really like this housing. And you see many guys on eBay and so on that do sell do-it-yourself housing or stands for the machine drum. But let's just jump straight into it. Maybe just an overview what you see here. So upper left, we see the machines. And yes, the machine drum is divided into machines. You have, for example, bass drum, snare drum, hi-hat, middle tom, low tom, high tom, middle tom, low tom, clap, rim shot, cowbell, and so on, and some further machines like M1, 2, 3, 4. That could be everything, like additional sample, additional machine like an engine, but also a sampler or a recording engine. Then here, of course, you have the big knob, which helps you to adjust more or less many things. Then here you have the so pregnant red display. I think that's what the machine drum is basically famous for. To be honest, other lights like blue light or even white light would look better, but I think it looks so cool, you have just to keep this. Then here you also see parameters that are changing when you switch here through the settings, and all these knobs obviously you can control with these ones, right? Then here you can change some things like the bank and change maybe your pattern. Then here, this is the menu navigation, so up, down, left, right, and so on. And that's one downside of the machine drum. There are many sub-menus, and you have to get used to that, and you have to learn it actually. It's in the beginning, it's quite hard to get into that. It's not how to say, easy to get into one like a simple analog machine drum, but I think it's worth to learn it. Of course, you play pause, record. You can switch between pattern mode and what is the other mode called? Doesn't matter. Here you can do some configuration like your kit and global or song setup. Here, of course, the light programming that we know from many famous drum or from a lot of drum computers like the 808 and so on. And this is special here because you find some different revisions of the machine drum. So initially, you have to check there are some that have here only 3 LEDs. And as far as I remember correctly, this one here, the SPS1 UV it's called, has longer bars. So here I can record longer patterns, and I can also do some extended stuff. I think it has some extended memory to store some samples in there. So, but as said, let's just jump into it. Just one more thing. You have a classic and an extended mode, okay? Classic means whatever you do, it's just like you play, for example, a pattern. You play it, right? And you change maybe the slider, then that's it, okay? But extended means you can also do crazy things like, for example, record an LFO or record knob movement into the pattern itself and get things crazy, okay? So let's see. Just maybe I play some sounds and you will get the idea how it sounds like. So yeah, here the E, F, G, H, I think I deleted them just to fill them with some patterns of mine. But yeah, you get, I think, this basic sound, how the machine drum sounds like. And to be honest, I personally think it's quite aged. It's aged a little bit. So it's now 20 years old. I mean, the sounds might be interesting, and with a little bit of tweaking, of course, everything is interesting, right? But you get the idea. I think it doesn't sound really so fresh to me. And but yeah, nevertheless, I think it's a good starting point to get really interesting sounds out of it, right? But coming to the sounds, I said it already. Let's get just one cleared, and then I explain you how this thing works basically, okay? So let me just clear it, load, and then here, for example, you get different kits that are already on the machine. So here, for example, it's I think this orientates itself to the classic Roland TR machines. Let's load this, and yeah, so let's check others. EFM, I remember. Okay. E12, just one more maybe. Okay. And of course you can create your own ones here. For example, I was doing, where's that? One, I called it Underworld. It's basically a TR909 kit I did some years back on the machine because it reminded me of Underworld Dark and Long, and I wanted to do some kind of basic TR909 style song on the machine drums. So here, right? So yeah, so basically, yeah, there I already show you what the machine is capable of. I also sampled some classic 909 samples in there. Load some kit, and you can also do your own. So maybe let's do that. 22 we use now for ours, and now it's empty, right? And then you can say edit. I want to load a machine to the first sound, and there you have some basics like a sine wave, noise here. Sorry. Some basic like sine wave, noise, something else, I don't know what. Then here's some others like the TRX EFM, I think is FM synthesis. So yeah, and some should sound more natural and so on. So let's use maybe a kick drum. Let's use the classic bass drum here. And then you can also switch it, I think, or already, right? You get the idea. Okay. So we can preview these guys, and let's say, okay, this one I want to have. And all these machines have specific components in here, so I can, or attributes I can tweak. So of course the pitch. And by the way, this is something I learned just months after I had the machine drum. When I tweak this, it's really changing very slow. But if I press it, I can scroll through it very easily. So just right natural, I always press already the knob and slide through it to get the rough idea how the parameter really affects the sound. So Okay, that's our bass drum. Let's add a snare drum. Kit, edit. Let's say a classic 808 snare. Cool. And maybe tweak it a little bit. Oh, cool. And of course, maybe add some reverb. Oh, maybe bit crusher, saturation. And here there's the filter. By the way, here this filter frequency, filter width, filter Q. Q I think is easy, but it's the resonance, right? Frequency also makes sense, but the width is so check out the manual how this stuff works. But there are really some parameters. You have to see this in the manual, and then you get the idea, and then you know how to use them. Yeah. So because with these 3 parameters, you can also do a high pass filter and a band pass filter. Yeah, but okay. But let's remove the filter. And I said I wanted to have some reverb. So here. By the way, the onboard reverb really sounds shitty. Yeah, so there are really some better reverbs, but it does the job. And I think it's also some kind of smart and sounds unique. Okay. Delay. And of course, you can sync the delay to the BPM that you just have in here. By the way how I am using usually Machinedrum is also not just in this standalone mode, but I sync it usually to my DAW, which is Ableton Live usually. And when I hit the play button in Ableton Live, the machine also always runs. And I just turn down the volume. And if I want to, for example, looking for a bass drum or so, I just press the play button, jam around with the Machinedrum, and then just record the bass drum. That's how I use the Machinedrum basically, yeah. Okay, so you get the idea how the machines work, and of course you can load whatever you want to these, how much is it, 16 patterns. And yeah, here you see the mode, I don't know how it's called, but here you can just hit them directly, right? But you can also go to the light how's it called, light mode to program it. So of course you want to have maybe, let's say, a 4 on the floor kick drum, or maybe just a breakbeat. Let's do a breakbeat. Okay, so here, here, and just play. Okay, and then of course I can go to the, for example, snare drum and record it here. Remove it again, just like how this lighting stuff works. Then I can also go to the other mode and just say like this. Sorry, wrong button. And just record what I'm jamming, okay? Then I can always go back and change it. Okay. So that's basically how you program the Machinedrum, and the more stuff you add, and of course then you can extend the pattern, which I'm not going to do right now, because if you're really interested and you can read this, check this out how this is working. But just for me, it's now all about just getting you the basic principle how this stuff is working. Maybe one more thing. Also, what I told you is in the extended mode, I can record the noops movement, what I'm doing, right? So I just as an example here, I take the bit crusher effect on the snare drum, and look what I'm doing. So you can say, okay, this is the default setting, which is around 99 saturation effect. But when I play it and I press especially this trigger, I can record my movement. Okay, so listen to that. Right, and now imagine if I would do this over the whole pattern, right, and record it straight, would record the knob movement, you get really these organic, interesting, complex pattern what the machine drum is actually famous for. And that's why it's so important and so interesting having this machine, because you can add all this automation and things how they're moving around. I think that's very interesting. The same with I won't show it you now right here, but you can also of course add some LFO to all these parameters and so on. So that's the point. You can make very interesting and complex patterns just with some things and then just add them always on top. That's what the machine drum is about. I would like to show you one more thing. I think when Elektron designed the machine drum, I think end of 90s maybe or around 2000, I think they were not so aware of that this is so powerful, which is the sampling feature and the resampling feature. And people really drastically drove this to extreme point. And because of that, they created the Octa track afterwards, which has way more memory to store samples in there. And unfortunately, machine drum only can store a few seconds of samples. But nevertheless, in some old videos of mine, you also see that I'm having an Octa track, but I actually sold it because the way how I'm using it, the machine drum is enough, right? What I'm doing is I might sample in here some samples and then use them or maybe resample my thing. And this is what the machine drum can also do. With the Octa track, actually, it's basically the same principle, how the stuff is working, a little bit improved everything, but you can load tons of gigabytes of samples in there. Like I think you can stream, for example, in the Octa track, you can stream 2 GB sample and maybe time stretch it and so on. I don't need this because for that I like to use Ableton Live, okay? But yeah, let's just get into it. And why I want to show this in that video is because it took me very long to understand how this stuff is working. And I want to add this to my YouTube video just to have it documented, okay? So let's jump into it right now. I also added again these cables. By the way, so that's the input of the machine drum. And the way how I connected it is the following. Whatever receives my mixer will come to these cables. So this way I can play whatever I like from my workstation, from a song, from a CD, from whatever. I will always be able to listen to it with my machine drum, okay? So I have a sample here. Let's just check out the sample. Dance while the record spins. Okay, that's my sample. And I had to check this actually before because I think it's not that intuitive, but let me explain this, what I have here. So I'm using M1 and machine 1 and machine 2. Machine 1, and you see this here, is a RAM read machine, okay? And machine 2 is a RAM play machine. So what is that? This means basically, I just show it to you how you load this. You use a RAM read 1 machine, which can read stuff that's coming into the input into slot 1. You have 4 different slots. So wrong here. You have 4 different slots, okay? And as said, let's use read 1. And then on another machine, you use actually the play 1 just to play back this one. And the point is, you have to understand whenever machine 1 is being triggered, it will record whatever is coming here to the input, okay? And obviously, whenever machine 2 is being triggered, it will play back the sample slot, yeah? So let's do this. So I press now here this button, M1, you see that? And now it records certain length. You can read this in the manual, okay? And just for demo purposes, what I'm doing here to the right, I have my keyboard. I will trigger the sample from my workstation again and press immediately the M1 button. And while I'm doing so, it will record the sample into the machine drum, okay? So let's do that. Dance while the record spins. Just again, maybe. Dance while the record spins. Okay, and if I play back now M2. Make it a little bit louder. Okay, so you get the idea. Now I hit again M1. Let's do it one more time.
Dance while the record spins. Dance while the record spins.
And then of course I can trim it. Let's do that. So I go here. I can of course change the pitch as well.
Dance while the record spins. Dance while the record spins.
At the start, change the start.
Dance while the record spins. 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 Dance while the record spins.
Yeah, you get the idea, right? I mean, now it's, I think I recorded it too quiet and you can change it and so on. But you get the idea. So I recorded it through that. You have 4 different slots and you can record that into a RAM machine. Just one more thing. In here, you see also you have ROM machines. And yes, if I would now turn off the Machinedrum, the sample would be lost. You can transfer them to the ROM. And here there are already some pre-made machine samples, but here I recorded already some chords, some vocals, some drum and bass loops, and so on. That's, I think, not interesting for you guys. But the point is, you can, of course, store some samples in here. I don't know, it's just some megabytes or kilobytes, I don't believe, but just some megabytes. So you really cannot store long samples in here, but just some famous sample, like, for example, the 909 hi-hat are stored in here just to have it. And yeah, that's how it's working. Now, just for demo purposes, I would like to try one more thing I never have done before, but really for the video. So you see the Machinedrum, of course, has multiple outputs, and just like in the classic drum machine, you can pipe or output many different, or the different machines through these main outs here. I don't use that so often. I thought initially I'd do this way more, but I still prefer just solo some things and just record it into my DAW. That's why I just use the main outs here. But what I would like to do is I would like to reroute the main out to the input and mess around with the resampling. Let's do that. Let's see if that works. funny, just for the ones that don't understand what's ongoing here right now, is the following. So without testing it before, I like it because just I was using the phone's output and putting this straight into the input of the sampling feature of the Machinedrum, right? I also could have used the normal outputs and do some rerouting, but I just did not care, to be honest. Just I wanted to see the effect, but I still like it. I already like it. So all the output that you just hear of the video recording, of course, also comes out on the phone's jack. I put this in here again, and then switching to the M1, you see now here in my pattern, at this and that and that and all these other positions, I'm recording what actually comes to the Machinedrum, which is of course its own sound, right? So it's recording here, then here re-recording, re-recording, re-recording. But on the other side, I'm using that machine, right? And play back just the sample buffer. And as a result, you hear all these quirks and weird effects. Then here I'm again using some attributes. So I pitched it down a little bit. I was adding some retrigger effect, and that's actually what you are hearing. So it's like an iteration of its own sound, adding it on top. And also, if you just stop it, it's still processing, and that's really funny, I think. Listen to that. That's cool, isn't it? That's it, basically. I hope you liked it. You hope you enjoyed it. That's my Machinedrum. And I think if I would have to sell some of my gear, I think the Machinedrum wouldn't leave the house so fast. There would be other things before I would sell. But on the other side, I'm not using it so much on my drum and bass productions, at least. But again, it's so intuitive. It's always giving me some ideas. So I hope you liked the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Just press the like button and of course subscribe if you haven't done so far, and talk to you soon. Bye.